Today I'm going to talk to you about the time that I got invited to play on a poker TV show with my heroes, and then I got kicked off.
Welcome back to High Stakes Poker, also known as Did You Really Have King 7? Here comes high stakes player Phil Galfond to join the game.
Jamie.
I'm Phil.
Nice to meet you.
So when I was 22, I'd been playing online poker for 3 years. And like many of you, High Stakes Poker was my favorite TV show. I'd actually watched every single episode. I managed to get invited to play on the show, which was extremely exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time, if I'm being honest. Unfortunately, it did not go as I'd hoped.
But he's not going to.
Wait a minute, Galfond just threw his hand away.
Mori's supposed to invite rich billionaires to this game, and he invited the tightest pro he could find.
All right, buddy, I called, though. Don't worry, I don't want to get you upset. I'll call no matter what it is. Oh, my God.
And on his second hand,
Phil raising the 6,500.
So I'd been invited to one full day of filming, which is several episodes. I was also an alternate on the day before, and this was the day that I was an alternate for, and I did get called in about halfway through the day. I was comfortable playing these stakes, despite what it probably looked like. My discomfort was with playing on TV. I had been playing, like I said, for 3 years, but for the last year prior to this, I was mostly playing 200, 400, and 300, 600 online Nolan Hold'em against really the best players in the world.
Okay, I'll do the negotiations for
All right, I get the point.
over there for Eli. We'll chop with you, buddy.
I still remember it was such a blur. I go from not knowing if I'm going to play that day to, hey, you're an alternate, you're getting called in, there's a seat open, to getting makeup on, which we had makeup on in my seat, and just the hands were coming. And though I'd played poker so many times, I was shook, really. So we head to the King 8-6, all diamond flop, my black queens shrivel up. And it's a very standard check from me, and we check around.
bad move to check here.
10 of clubs on a turn.
Let's see if Sammy tries to take it away. If Phil Galfond has been watching this game, he'll realize that 16,000 not a big bet relative to the action that's been going on here. And I would think he would at least call here on the turn. But he's not going to.
All of a sudden, I find myself in this spot with queens. Farha's betting the turn, 16,000 and 22,000. And I think I have a really easy fold. Turns out Farha was betting with no pair, no draw, which is incredibly wild. Maybe he made a read on me. I go from making a very standard play, getting called by two loose players, to kind of looking foolish because I folded a hand that had 100% equity against his Jack-5 bluff.
But he's not going to, because he's playing semi-normal poker. And in semi-normal poker, if you have a pair of black queens and king something something of diamonds comes out on the flop, someone bets 16,000, you throw your hand away. Very interesting.
I should have taken the chop.
How long it's going to take Phil Galfond to get used to this game.
Yeah.
I had a chip on my shoulder at that point, as I think a lot of us online players did. We were watching Poker's heroes, our heroes too, on TV, playing poorly and being considered the best in the world, with some exceptions, not that everybody's playing badly. And we knew that playing online, we were playing much more strategically sound, and nobody in the world knew who we were. Today that wouldn't bother me. Back then it did. It bothered me. So I didn't know that he bluffed me in that pot, but I could feel my opportunities to play cool and interesting hands and to outmaneuver these players post-flop slipping away. I wanted to get on there and show them the way that I could play, the way that I knew I could play, which included a lot of big bluffs. It included a lot of hero calls. It included a lot of hand reading, which I really prided myself in, but instead I was getting outmaneuvered, or we were seeing flops six-way and I just wasn't flopping anything.
Now, how would you assess the play of our two newcomers so far?
Well, Brandon Adams and Phil Galfond have had a tough time getting out of the gate. With the amount of action that's going on, it's difficult for these guys to play small ball poker without putting their entire bankroll at risk. They're waiting for premium hands, and they really haven't gotten any.
So there was some banter at the table about tight play. There was a joke at some point about Phil's being Nits, referring to me and Phil Hellmuth.
You got Nit over here. You did it once when he got up 100, now he's back to...
How do you spell Nit?
P-H-I-L.
Give me the proper definition of nit, Gabe.
Did you hear that, Phil?
Yeah, I heard that.
Go look in the
I've
mirror
never really been called
to
a
see a
nit.
nit.
Well, I know Phil Hellmuth is affecting you.
But generally, I felt like I was just playing normal poker. I wasn't thinking too much of it. I didn't realize that the commentators were talking about how tight I was playing as well.
So do you think tighter players are at a disadvantage in our game then?
Well, they're more dependent on getting good cards, so consequently, they don't play many pots unless they get those premium hands, and the aggressive players are aware of this.
How do the aggressive players handle it?
Well, they try to put the straddle on, force those people to gamble. If that doesn't work, they try to put the double straddle on. If that doesn't work, they go up to them, shake them, and say, play more hands, you tight-ass. A nit is a guy that doesn't gamble much.
Would apply.
No one has ever really called me a nit before. I kind of like it, so bring it on. But after losing,
you know his name's Phil, right?
yeah, I know. Well, that's
Not you,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but I mean,
But you're kinda
Mori's
nitty.
supposed to invite rich billionaires to this game, and he invited the tightest pro he could find.
We had
Phil is saying that Brandon Adams and Phil Galfond are playing very tight.
Mike and
The day went on like that. I did win a few pots. There were some times where I flopped pretty well.
Insta-call from Ellie. Unless Ellie catches a 10 or a queen.
Nope. There's a king for Phil.
Good card for Phil. It's going to make Ellie think that his queens might be good. That Phil might have been drawn.
$26,000 bet from Galfond.
Insta-call
Wow.
again from Ellie.
There it is.
Turned out that check on the flop was a great play for Phil Galfond.
I flopped pretty well. I bet once, got called, bet the turn, got a fold. For the most part, it was folding pre-flop. It was folding flops. I knew the strategy. I knew the strategy part of the game, but you kind of just have to hope for a lot of things to go right. It's kind of like being deep in a tournament. You think like, yeah, okay, I can play the best I can, but in reality, with 10 people left in this huge buy-in tournament, so much of this is up to the poker gods. The absolute low light of the day for me was...
Well, Gabe, here we are at a high-stakes poker suite. You know the names, you know the faces. However, this is the last time the buy-in will be $100,000 starting next time.
So in this hand, I open under the gun +1 with 10-7 suited, which, by the way, is probably not an open. So I wasn't playing that crazy tight. As we often did, we went 6-way to the flop, despite everybody thinking I was tight. They didn't mind continuing, although most of them have pretty decent hands here, again, with the exception of Farha. I actually got an invite on the show thanks to my friend Tom Dwan, who connected me with Mori Eskandani, the producer, and recommended me for the show. I feel bad that I disappointed him. Tom, as I'm sure you know, later went on in the next season to play the most electric poker ever shown on High Stakes Poker and really take over the poker world.
Wow.
Barry throws it away.
Good.
Something just doesn't smell right to him. But he can't pull a trigger.
So Durr just sat down and stole $10,000 from Antonio in this pot.
From Durr, you don't know what to expect at any time in your life. It's total wild card madness game with Durr.
Both Phil and Antonio are goading Dwan into raising here, hoping that he doesn't. But he does.
And enter the wild card madness card. That's a 25? I don't even have one of those.
See if Mr. Ivy puts in that blue chip. Nope, it's 5 white chips. A little $45,800 continuation bet. He just calls. The man with 9 high bets 123-2. He decides to call. I think he's calling for 2 reasons. 1, he feels he can get paid off if he hits his hand. And 2, there's a small chance that Dwan is completely airballing. Ivy makes a pair of 6s on the river. There's $408,700 out there. It's not like Tom Dwan to give up. He is loading the gun. He fires. $268,200.
Okay.
Oh, that one hurt.
Durr, you're a very interesting human. I'm glad to be in your orbit, you know?
After that was filmed, it didn't air live. After it was filmed, Tom texted me and said it went as well as it could have possibly gone. And had that happened before this season, I would have ended this day by texting Tom. It went as poorly as it could have possibly gone.
7 king ace on the flop, 2 diamonds.
Check.
Ellie's got a pair of 7s, so has Phil
Is it up to me?
Galfond. Daniel's got a flush draw.
I guess I'll check.
He's going to check it.
A lot of checking going on here. Jack on the turn.
No help for anybody. Daniel's also got a straight draw now. But I think Daniel has to feel with so many people in the pot, someone's got to have aces.
That ace is scary.
So he's going to check again.
Well,
What the heck is going
another jack.
Well, now it's a split pot between Eli Elezra and Phil Galfond. Unless somebody bets.
You know, when 6 people see the flop, if you don't have anything and you don't have any draw, you basically just don't put any money into the pot. I remember thinking on the turn, well, I need to hit a queen or I need to hit a 7. Otherwise, I'm going to lose this pot. I didn't hit a queen or a 7, and I just mucked my hand. I thought there's no way that a 7 is... I honestly just forgot that I had a 7, and I was focused on my 10 that could make a straight. As it turned out, nobody had anything except Elezra, who also had a 7, and I muck half the pot on national television, on my first time on national television at that.
A bet, we'll take it.
It could have been a bigger pot.
But nobody bets.
Wait a minute. Galfond just threw his hand away.
Oh, come on.
Oh my God!
Oh my God.
Oh my God, baby!
He did. He threw his hand away.
Oh my God. You got to be kidding me.
4,500 going to Jennifer.
He plays.
She's saving with me.
What's that about?
He's not saying anything. You see, when you play on the computer,
I was slow playing aces really hard.
the computer splits the pot, and he's embarrassed to say now that he knows now.
In the end, it wasn't expensive financially. I didn't really lose in the session, but my hopes and dreams of being a poker superstar were dashed. I obviously felt really foolish. I felt embarrassed that I had mucked the chop, and also that things had not gone the way that I hoped. You know, after that poor performance, I was gearing up, trying to psych myself up to play the next day, where instead of getting a few hours, I actually got the full day and several episodes, when I got the call that I was no longer invited to play on that day because I was bad TV. I was boring. What I didn't realize is that going on TV to play poker back then was about entertainment. Yes, people were trying to win. They were trying to play well, but the people who got invited back were the ones who made great TV. I don't blame myself, for being unanimated at the table. I didn't know these players. They all knew each other. I was really socially uncomfortable kind of as a default, and then putting myself into this situation, it was just, times 10. To be frank, I was kind of hopeless. There was no knowledge that I could have gotten beforehand that would have made me the life of the party. But what I could have done, and if I did understand better, was let my game speak for me in a way that was actually not plus EV, was not winning poker, but was exciting poker. I'm not too bothered by it anymore. I'm not that disappointed in my 22-year-old self. I was young, I didn't get it, and I was bad TV. And in the end, that's how I got kicked off high stakes poker.